Good morning, everybody. I'm David Thomas. This is Mr. Joshua Blevins. We're here with Ahead of the Curve Live on this February, what day is it? The 10th? All day.
10th. It is the 10th.
All day long, the 10th. And we're going to try to cover some ground this morning with what happened at our city council meeting on Thursday night.
Yeah.
And Josh, you were in attendance and you got in on all the details of it. So
I was there. I got there early like I usually do. Normally I'd write about it, but this week we decided to do something a little different. We're talking about it instead of writing. Got there early like I usually do. Parking lot was already kind of full.
Were you shocked to see that?
I was surprised.
Yeah.
I'd read the agenda ahead of time and it looked kind of mundane. There wasn't anything really crazy on the agenda. So walked in, my usual seat on the front row was full.
Oh, wow.
So I moved over to the other side of the room and started talking to some people and realized that the hot button issue that I hadn't seen coming down the road was the grant that was deep into the agenda, and what people are looking for and the people that were there, and they said there was 45 to 50 people out in the lobby, plus every seat was full in the council room. They're hoping for a new soccer complex over at HV Griffin Park. The actual thing they voted on, the resolution they voted on, is they're looking to make a grant application with TDEC. TDEC, kind of a last minute grant has come up where they will match up to 50% of this type of expenditure on a park expansion like this.
Okay, stop there. You said up to 50%. So
Yeah.
there's not a 50% guarantee, you don't think? Or is there, assuming there's
50% seems to be a guaranteed percentage, but there were no caps. They were a little unsure of how high. TDEC on the grant didn't specify like a height number. So they, even during the meeting, they mentioned if a city came and asked for $100 million project, TDEC may not have $50 million to give.
Right.
So, but we're about to ask for a pretty decent size one. There was a master plan done in 2019 for HV Griffin Park, and at that point they'd gotten some bids, and this first phase, which includes the soccer complex, they mentioned a dollar figure that honestly I don't remember. It was $8 or $9 million. So they're estimating, based on today's construction prices, $14 million to do this phase one.
right.
Which that brings new parking in the back, that brings in the soccer fields, and moves a few smaller structures around. I think there's
Right.
some shade structures, concession stands, but that's a big number for the city.
Now, we do have this on our website under local news where you wrote your recap.
Right. Yeah,
we
do
put that
have
layout.
Yeah, we do have a
overhead
layout. There's a if you look around on Facebook, there's a Facebook group. They're really active, pushing for this park expansion. So they've got diagrams. I think even on the park website, there's an actual full diagram of what they're looking to
Okay,
do.
so what was the vote on actually?
Okay, so the vote was just to send a letter of intent to TDEC that we're intending to apply for the grant. So we've not guaranteed any money.
Gotcha.
Nothing's been allocated yet. But again, let's go back to the dollar figure. So say it's 14 million and they give us the full 50%, our current city budget, the most recent one they've got on the website, the whole budget was $25 million for
Right.
the year.
It's-
So this
yeah.
is a big chunk of
Well,
money for a
was there-
city our size.
Was there any discussion about how this could possibly be funded?
Just briefly, I think it was Councilmember Feldhaus mentioned they talked about this in the past, and the only way they can come up with this kind of money would be a bond issuance. So debt, they would have to borrow.
Okay, so it'd be borrowed money.
It'd be borrowed
Was there
money.
any discussion of possible corporate sponsors and cooperating with private entities?
They did. They said we're going to need to probably try to sell maybe naming rights,
Right.
get a lot of sponsorship money. Because again, this is a big, and what it really came down to at the end that gave a unanimous vote was the other side of the puzzle is not just city residents come to that park. People come in from all over Bedford County.
Right.
So this is going to benefit the whole county. So the ask is going to be, why doesn't the county step in
Right.
and fund some of this money? I looked at the county budget. We don't even have a Parks and Recreation department in the county.
No.
So there's we're not spending money on that at all. So why not get the county to chip in a little bit? And that ended up being the resolution that was passed, is we're going to go ahead with asking for the grant while also asking the county to chip in some money.
This sounds very familiar to a conversation that took place back in the 90s when the complex was renovated and we built the indoor swimming facility, the meeting rooms, the indoor gymnasium, the complex that was there, and the weight room and all that. And I think the expenditure back then was probably in the $20 million range just to do that building. And that dollars are a lot different than they are now. That project would probably cost $100 million now.
Yeah.
But the conversation was very similar. This is a little different twist because from what I understand, and you correct me if I'm wrong, this is an idea that we might draw in large tournaments and bring in people from out of the area to participate and be part of our economy here, right?
Absolutely. That's correct. That's all the people that spoke in the public comment session were pointing out, one of their big points is, of the top 50 cities by population in the state, we're the only one that doesn't have a soccer complex. We're also, just a side note they gave, we're the only town in the state with a Chick-fil-A that doesn't have a soccer complex.
Oh, wow. So, okay. Chick-fil-A is a standard now.
We're now measured by the Chick-fil-A standard. So, yeah, and it would, the whole idea is these weekend tournaments that are held all over the state. And I had boys that played soccer, and my youngest one, he started, I think he was 3 or 4 when he played all the way up through high school.
Right.
And we used to go around and we played in Memphis and we played in Nashville, and it's a great thing. And it would bring people, if we had these tournaments here in town, it would bring people in from out of town. They've got to eat at Chick-fil-A if they're here on a Saturday.
Not
on Sunday,
but
if they're here on a Saturday.
That's right. They might eat at Chick-fil-A.
All
right. And here's the next question is, and I'm sure this is brought up, do we have the hotel capacity to handle some of this? I know we have gradually grown a little bit in that area, and I know we have a Hampton Inn coming, which would help.
Right.
Is there any talks, or did anybody mention, hey, we've got some other hotels coming that could support this? I've heard rumors, but I hadn't heard anything solid.
Yeah, I didn't hear any talk on the hotel issue. That was the first thing that came to my mind is, if I came here for a weekend, I'm not sure there's a lot of hotels in town I'd want to spend the night at with my family.
Yeah.
I might stay in Murfreesboro and then drive down.
True. And then you've got a lot of options in Murfreesboro as far as eating establishments.
Right, which takes the tax dollars back out of the county. So possibly, I guess the side argument would be, maybe if we had the complex, we start getting the people coming here every weekend, maybe then that's a draw for the hotels to build a couple nicer hotels in town.
Right. We just got through doing our sports show a little while ago, and this is kind of a connection to that with local sports. It seems like soccer has overtaken baseball and softball as far as participation level. Soccer is huge.
Soccer is huge with kids. Yeah, like I said, my little guy, he was 3 years old out there playing. We played at NYSA in Donaldson. It was a big complex. There were kids playing there from Saturday morning, early morning till mid-afternoon every week, and we had a great time. It was, great bonding time with, parents with their kids out on the weekends. So I think it could be a good thing for the city. We just need to find a way to fund it that doesn't, A, lead to a tax increase, first of all.
Right.
And then B, as Councilmember Turnbow brought up during the discussion, we've got other things we really need to be funding right now, including we've got some needs in the police department. We've got needs in the fire department.
Yes.
We can't put the soccer at too high of a priority and, hurt our public safety and other things. So that's where the corporate sponsorships would be helpful.
Yeah.
That's where getting some county money, there's a lot that's going to go into this before it's going to happen. And I can tell this plan, all these pictures online, these were from 2019. So this is not a brand new discussion. This is 5 years old, and we're still talking and nothing's happened yet. So.
Yeah. And money will delay things. The lack of money does delay things. When you've got police cars that have 600,000 miles on them, and like the police officers out putting more miles on them every day, there is a need there. It's a continual need. They have to rotate these things in and out. Those expenditures are part of our public safety. So Councilman Turnbow brought up a good point. So it's going to have to be some creative financing going on.
To make this happen for sure. So now on the other side of it, on the county side, where we asked for county money, the ironic part of the evening was 30 minutes later in the evening, we had a vote, and looks like we're going to court and we're suing the county and trying to get money.
But
from
we
the
just
county.
asked the
So
county
we
to
asked them
chip
to
in.
give us some money.
Now
and
we're
now
saying
we're
gonna okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so
Well, this one just makes me want to shake my head and say, what? I don't like the idea of suing myself. I have never wondered how we can do something like this. We're going to pay this attorney to represent my left side and this attorney to represent my right side, and there's going to be total conflict and disarray and disunity in the middle.
Right. Yeah. I've talked to a lot of people behind the scenes. I've gotten off the record, on the record. I still can't wrap my head around what we're doing exactly. I know the county put out a statement on Friday. They were really clear that they feel like the city is trying to defund education. The dollar amount in question is about $2 million a year.
All right.
And I feel like, and I've heard a few things, behind the scenes, that the city has, there's a side to most arguments, and the city has a side, but we just haven't heard it yet. So we're kind of left at this point just wondering, what is the city's reasoning for this? And until we hear from them, I hate to.
Well,
but from what I'm seeing right now, it sure looks like we're taking $2 million from education, and that, nobody wants.
It's not a good look. It's not a good look.
No.
So I guess the argument would be, and I've heard this brought up, that everybody's using the city streets. They're using the city property to get in and out, and the logistics of people getting into school and out of school. We do have local police officers that patrol the police, the schools that are in the city. They will make drive-throughs, sometimes walk-throughs,
right,
as far as their normal patrol, and that's something that would take them off their beaten path. So they do have some hand in it, but does it reach the magnitude of $2 million a year?
It's got to be more than that. And again, until we hear the city side, I hate to speculate, but there's got to be something else there that we've not seen.
Right.
And hopefully, I would imagine sometime next week, the city will put out at least a little bit of their side of the argument, so we can kind of see where they're coming from.
Stuff like this, to me, is something you just get in the room and talk about and come to an agreement upon behind closed doors, and come out and tell the public, we've agreed to do this. Instead, we're going to have a battle right in front of everybody.
Yeah, that is, that's the part that kind of hurts the most, is we've got two pieces of government that are supposed to represent us that are literally across the street from each other, and they weren't able to sit down in a room and work this out. And instead, we've got two high-powered law firms out of Nashville drawing taxpayer money from both sides, fighting over tax money. Yeah. So it's just not a good look.
No. Now, there's a couple of comments that have just come on. One from Mary Andre. Having traveled for organized sports, this goes back to the sports complex. Yeah. The city not only needs to have the sports facilities, but also lodging and restaurants for the area out of area travelers. I get that, but here's the problem with that: government has nothing to do with that.
No, the hotels will come when the business comes.
Exactly.
Yeah, if they're going to look at, they're going to look at people that are spending the night here. It's got to hit a certain threshold, and then they'll build it.
Right. I think the decline of the Walking Horse celebration over the last 15 years has put some reluctance in other hotel chains and other restaurant chains coming in, because that used to be a high impact event that took place for those 2 weeks in August and September. And it would have a windfall for those businesses that's not quite there like it used to be. So you got to prove that the business is there before somebody's going to put a big investment in. Now, we do have the Hampton Inn coming.
Right. Yeah. And that's supposed to be 80 rooms. I've not heard any, further activity on that. But if that comes, that's a start. And if they are successful and, we move forward and they start filling up, that's going to cause another hotel to look at it.
Jason Gregory comes in. No way the county chips in with us taking legal action against them. I get that. It's like, we want your money, but we're going to sue you. We want a donation, but we're going to sue you over here. Okay.
Right.
All right. So you also have to spend money to make money, build the complex, and more tax dollars come in to fund all the other needs. We will get tax dollars if we have hotels and restaurants that these people can patronize.
Right. Yeah. The people coming in, we would get, assuming we had decent hotels and they were staying out, we do get hotel, motel tax money. The city gets that. and then obviously sales tax dollars at the restaurants and the money they spend while they're here. And actually, the vast bulk of that goes to the county and goes in the education fund.
Right.
So, which is good. I mean, that helps fund our schools without having to raise property tax.
So basically, what tax would there be that would help the city of Shelbyville pay for this out of that? Would be the hotel taxes, probably.
I guess the hotel motel, yeah,
because it wouldn't be the sales tax.
Sales tax. I mean, the city does get some. Yeah, the city gets
small percentage.
Yeah, they get a percentage of the sales tax, and that's part of what the lawsuit's about. They're wanting a bigger percentage.
Sure.
So,
okay. Yeah. All right. So we got those two items going on, and then what else took place at the meeting?
Yeah, the only other people that showed up for public comment, there were 3 or 4 people from the Union Street side of town that came out to speak again. This was the final vote on annexing in the property that is hoping to be turned into the Remington Farms PUD over on Union Street. And for the first time at a meeting, we had someone speak up for the developer, and we brought a clip, and I think David's going to play it. And then
let's set this up. Who is this now?
Okay, this is Harold Seagroves. He is the realtor representing the 2 gentlemen that are looking to develop this property. He'll mention their names in the clips. Both of them are developers, as far as I know, out of Rutherford County. One is currently already building in the area. It's the developer that's already building Wheatfield.
Okay.
And then the other gentleman does not currently have any developments in the area, just in Rutherford County. And this would be his first Bedford County development.
Okay, so let's take a look at this clip.
Let's look at what
and
he says,
we'll
then
talk
we'll respond.
Yeah.
Yes, there has been a traffic study done. The Planning Commission at this last meeting asked us to update the traffic study, which we're doing. But the traffic study, we're going to comply with 100% of everything the traffic study comes out with, including work on the exit out of Cloverdale onto Union Street. And we don't anticipate that the updated study will reveal anything new, but if it does, we're good citizens, we're going to do it. I appreciate the fact that change is hard. I get it, and I do get it, but I have good citizens that I represent on this project, John Floyd and Steve Knox. They have gone out of their way to conform to everything that the city has set out before us in its 10-year plan, in its long-range 10-year plan. We waited until the city finalized it before we even brought this forward. So as we move forward in a sense of cooperation, not antagonization, or whatever that word is. And we look forward to working with the city to make a project that we can all be proud of as we continue to grow. And yes, deal with the stresses of growing, but do not forget, and this is where I sit down, that it's wonderful to have a farm next to you. And now we got some people, a family that want to sell that farm, and they have, I think, good rights to. And I have good people that are taking this project forward, and we're doing everything we can to be good citizens, including reserving 1 acre for a new fire station that we plan on giving to the city. And we'll be able to show that when we bring our next thing forward. But to not annex this would be, why would you not want to annex it? Annex it. It's coming in as R1. You get to do whatever you want to do after that. We can discuss it. But we're here not to say, here's what we want. We're here to have the discussion. And I hope you know that. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Harold Seagroves, you were there. You got to witness that.
I was there. I've got a lot to say, David. I've heard a lot. I did at the original planning commission meeting. I stood up and spoke for 3 or 4 minutes, and we've gotten a lot of feedback about that. You've gotten feedback. I've gotten feedback. We've been kind of mislabeled, I would say, as anti-growth, as anti-change, as, you know, we don't want anything coming into town. We don't want the town to grow. We want to sit still. As Mr. Seagrove said, we want to leave a farm there. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I've only been here 2 years. The change in general doesn't scare me. I'm not, you know, I haven't lived here my whole life, and I don't have huge sentimental value to this piece of property. What does concern me is, I don't know even the proper way to phrase it, but bad change, you know, bad development. He didn't, nowhere in that did he say, oh, we're excited to bring you this great development that's going to be good for the residents that live around it, that's going to be good for the residents that move into it. We're looking to improve your city. That's not what they're bringing. They're saying, we're meeting your minimum standards.
Right.
You have to let us in here. Again, as I said in my early speech, this is unnecessary density on this piece of property. One of the other criticisms I've gotten from several people is we're just, what do they call it? NIMBY, not in my backyard, because we're living in this neighborhood. We're against it. But if it was on the other side of town, we'd be, you know, we wouldn't speak up. This development isn't good on any side of Shelbyville. This development would not be good on South Cannon Street. This development would not be good on Madison Street. This development would not be good on 231 north of town in the city limits.
Right.
This is a Rutherford County density development that will be great in Rutherford County. It would be great in Davidson County. It may be good in Wilson County. But we have hundreds of acres of available land still. We don't need to be cramming 2,000 people into 148 acres at this point in the growth of the city.
Right.
Because once we set that precedent, the next guy that buys 60 acres down the road, he's not going to put in any single family homes. He's going to cram in 400 townhomes in his 60 acres. And then the next guy is going to cram in more. At some point, our city council and our planning and development people need to say, hold on, we need to slow down. We need to increase our standards. We've set our standards so low that they legally can get away with this type of development. If you go into a nice area like a Franklin, and no, we're not Franklin, we're never going to be Franklin. But if you build a subdivision in Franklin, you have to leave 10% of the area as usable green space for the people that live in the neighborhoods. They have nice neighborhoods. They have some playgrounds. They have some nice things for their kids to do. And another 5% has to be left as untouched green space, you know, so you can only develop on 85% of it. We've set ours at 5%. The developer, if you look at the plans for the green space in this development, it's got 7 areas of green space. 3 of the 7 is marked as a mail kiosk. What are your kids going to do at a mail kiosk? Do you want your kids crawling over it? Is that a jungle gym? I mean, what is that? One of the green space areas in the lower right, if you look at the diagram, has a wetland area as part of it. I mean, do you want your kids to go run in the mud? A couple dog parks, and there's one playground on the plans, a single playground for a neighborhood of 2,000 people. And I believe there's two dog parks marked, which is good. If you've got dogs, you'd like to have somewhere to walk your dog. And a couple what are called sports fields, which is, hey, here's some flat grass that we're going to keep mowed for you. This could be a better development if the council and planning pushes back and says, hey, let's improve this. Let's make a neighborhood that the people that are going to live there 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road are going to love. That's going to be good for the neighborhoods around them that they're going to love.
Right.
Let's not just say, hey, we met the minimums. We're coming in there. You got to let us, you know, you're scared of change. You're against growth. Absolutely not. Growth is good. We need growth. We need good neighborhoods. We need good developments. And that kind of good growth and good development is going to lead to good retail down the road. That's going to lead to good hotels down the road. There's so much more that can be done here if we don't just say, hey, you know, you met our minimums. Come on in, build what you want. So,
there's more to growth than just more rooftops.
More rooftops.
Yeah. And that's the mindset I think that everybody's in at the moment.
Right.
And when you bring that up, you're anti-growth. But
right.
I don't think more rooftops benefits in the short term or the long term when you just focus on just the rooftops. Everything else has to grow around it, and
Everything
it has to
around it.
conform.
Yeah.
And you can't just bring shock to an area like this will do it. You
Right.
know? I mean, you've got neighborhoods close by that have half-acre lots. They have settled in for 40 and 50 years, some of these neighborhoods, and they look like part of our community now. This, you know, and then you start putting those around like they have for the last 75 years. Then you bring this type of development in. It's like, which one of these things does not look like the other? You know, the old Sesame Street song. And it's like, it just looks out of place.
Right. Yeah. They could set in, nothing wrong with using a PUD to build this neighborhood, but in the PUD, you can have design standards. They could say within the PUD, we're single family homes. We've got to have, you know, a 10-foot setback from the lot line. You've got to have, they could say you've got to have a minimum of a brick front on the front of the house.
Right.
They can set standards like side entry or rear entry
For garage,
garages
exactly.
instead of front.
That automatically creates a bigger lot when you do
It's a
that.
bigger lot, makes a nicer neighborhood. But what they're saying is you can, it's all this is online. They're saying vinyl houses, asphalt roof. I mean, we've got, they're proposing townhomes that don't even have a garage at all.
Yeah.
You've got 1,300 square foot houses with single car garages coming in there. All of this is just not good for, not just this one neighborhood in town. Nowhere in the city limits do we need this kind of density right now. And 50 years down the road, if things are full and there's not a lot of lots left, like you've ended up with in Rutherford County or Davidson, where you're looking for space to build, that's different than when we've got 1,000 to 1,500 residential lots already approved by planning that haven't even been built yet. Yeah. The developers own, and they're building over time. In my neighborhood, they close 2 or 3 houses a week right now.
Okay, so
we've got room for people to come in.
Sure, we do.
Yeah,
and it's like you said, down the road, 50 years from now, this might be the standard. I think that the overpricing of homes that just hit in this big boom in our area, other areas in the country have seen it cool off. We're still hot because everybody wants to move to Tennessee and Texas. Right. And we're the receiving end of an influx coming from other states. And those folks are used to having a higher price tag. They're coming to a lower cost of living. They're coming to a more family friendly environment. And all of a sudden now we have had this explosion of house prices that's overinflated. When that pops and reduces, we're going to have this type of development put in place. The value of these homes are going to come down if we have a cooling off. So what does that do to the homeowner? You got a 1,200 square foot house that you paid $375,000 to $400,000 for. Now it's worth $200,000. You know, there's a whole lot of factors going into this whole type of development.
Yeah, what we've already run into, and another criticism I got is, hey, you live in a neighborhood like this and you're out fighting it, and I live in Union Station, and it is honestly the standard that a lot of people in planning hold up to say this is what we don't want to do in town right now. They look at Union Station, they say we messed this up, we messed this up, we messed this up. But what has happened right now, just with the interest rates being where they're at, a big, I don't know a percentage, but a decent number of properties that are selling in our neighborhood and some of the other neighborhoods around town are not even coming into people moving into the county. They're selling to investors living in Williamson County, living out of state, that are buying these homes and turning them into rentals. And a lot of what they're proposing in this new PUD, this Remington Farms, particularly those townhomes at the front, some of which don't even have a garage, those are almost certain to get bought by investors who are going to turn around and rent those. Those are not going to be, if you've got a family with 1 kid, 2 kids, no kids, you're not going to buy a 2-bedroom, no garage townhome to live in long term. These are more rental type properties, and I'm not knocking renters. I rented for 7 years before I bought my house here, and there's an area for rental properties, but this is not what we're looking to have as
well. We're not a transition area. We are I guess this is where we settle. People settle here and they buy a home here. Yeah. And I get it. When you're starting out, rental might be the only option. Right. And this, I don't know. I keep hearing we need better housing, cheaper housing here, blah, blah, blah. Well, I get that. But when you start putting developments in like this and it's set up where a normal neighborhood where people would go buy homes, half of it is going to be rental. It creates a mix that's not really good. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, it does. I'll give you a little anecdote. A couple of weeks ago, I was walking through our neighborhood and I saw a couple walking out of one of the new construction houses, and I talked them up like I do people moving in the neighborhood, asked them where they're coming from, and they were coming from Murfreesboro. And I said, "Hey, not that far away. What brings you from Murfreesboro to Shelbyville?" Yeah. They said, "Hey, this is our daughter. I won't mention her name, and we are looking for somewhere to raise our daughter. That's not what Murfreesboro has turned into."
Wow, okay.
Like, it's gotten too congested. We're scared, the crime, the constant construction. This Murfreesboro just wasn't where we wanted to raise a family. So we moved to Shelbyville because it's kind of, a slower pace, right. Smaller town, get kind of still that small town feel. And I didn't want to be the one to break the news to them, but Murfreesboro's falling them right down 231.
I know it.
So I'm not sure how much longer.
Well, I lived here. I lived on Cloverdale Road. That's where I grew up as a child. I played in this field when I was a kid. We would go back and pretend like we were hunting. Okay, we didn't have guns, but we were going hunting. Right. We did the hikes back there, and that pace of life has changed so much since I was a kid.
Oh, sure.
Over the past 50 years, and anybody that grew up here can see it. It happened slowly, but now it's starting to get like a snowball.
Right. And again, that's a lot of developers' argument is that everybody that's here is scared of change. And we can't be scared of the change. But on the other hand, we can't just let the change snowball right over top of us.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Let's melt the snowball.
We've got a planning department. We've got a planning commission. We've got a city council. Let's control the change. Look at other areas that have had the change, what hasn't worked, what does work. And let's pick the good parts of change and get the nicer neighborhoods, the better construction, the nicer green spaces. That's all we're looking for here.
Okay. So, well, let's take a look at what actually they did on Thursday night. They voted this to annex unanimously.
Yes, they voted unanimously to annex. So this piece of property currently sits in the city limits. It's required to have city services, and it's zoned currently R1, which allows you to build single-family homes on 15,000 square foot lots.
15,000 square foot. That's about a third of an acre.
About a third of an acre. So, and you really can't get 3 homes to an acre when you develop, because you got to have streets, you got to have drainage and all that. So the question now is, does the council let them go all the way from R1 up to this PUD where they're building 715 units on 148 acres? Or could we not get with the developer and come with some kind of a compromise that doesn't just put the density,
Right.
Yeah. And again, we're not against growth is good. This property needs to be developed. It's in a great spot. It's between 2 existing neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But as it's currently presented, it's not a good development. It's not good for the people that are going to live there long term. It's not good for the people that have lived next to it for 1 year, 2 years, 40 years. I mean, you've got neighbors right up against it that have been there 30 or 40 years that have spoken out at these meetings.
Right.
And it's not good for them any more than it's good for the people that are going to move in and live there for the next 15 or 20 years.
Right. Mary Andre brings up supply and demand will drive the market. Also, not everyone will be a homeowner, no matter how inexpensive the homes are, which is true. Quality rental homes are important to every community. I get that. The thing is, I think you take and throw an R4 situation right into the middle of an R1. It's a mismatch. Okay, I think we should plan out the location of R4 and R1 a little better.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, there is no, and that was one of my arguments at my initial speech. There's no R4 on that side of town. But again, we're not just talking about this side of town with this development.
Right.
Nowhere in town would this development be a good idea.
Right.
And not against rentals. I rented for 7 years, and rentals are great. And some people prefer to rent and may rent their whole lives, and there's nothing wrong with that. And good quality rental homes, yes. These would not even be good quality rental townhomes, they would look okay the first year.
Oh, I know.
10 years down
Yeah.
the road, these vinyl 2-bedroom, no garage
tell you, there's a
rentals
lot-
are not going to look that great.
There's a lot of shine on some of these homes that are being built today, but you could ram your fist right through the side of one of them. And in
Right.
5, 6, 7, 8 years, you go look at some that were built in this type of development 7, 8 years ago, right on the front end. You start to look at the condition of some of these homes, and you'll get a picture of what you're going to have 7 or 8 years down the road if this goes through in this high density environment.
Exactly. Yeah. Go to Rutherford County, go to Davidson County, try to find a neighborhood that's 10 years old, built to these quality standards, and you'll be surprised how much worse it looks 10 years down the road than it did when it was shiny and new. And
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, where does this go from here, Josh? We've got it annexed, so we're going
We've
to
got
wait
it
on the
annexed.
traffic study.
We're waiting on a traffic study. Honestly, I don't think the traffic study is going to change anything about how they have to develop. They'd already done an initial traffic study. All the traffic study did was require them to put in a turn lane at their main entrance on Union Street, and then eventually down the road they're going to have to add a turn lane at Cloverdale for all the
Right.
traffic that would feed through that. Other than that, I don't expect the traffic study is not going to come back and say, hey, you got to kill the townhomes. We're not expecting a traffic study to
Well,
do
honestly,
anything like that
until you have the traffic there, in reality, the study will mean nothing. When you look at what you have now and you already say you need turning lanes, I would
Right.
say after driving out there, I don't have to have a study to know we need some turning lanes.
They
out
should have
here.
had those already.
Yeah, and we need we probably need 4 lanes coming in from at least the city limits, where
yeah.
you start to get congested, and where Cloverdale and Green Hills turn on. 4 lane probably already needed there now.
And
So-
the city's actually working with TDOT currently to get a corridor study for 41A coming in from that side of town and 231 coming in from the north, because they know that we're right on the cusp of needing some work
Right.
on both of those roads just because of traffic volume. And,
Well-
and the roads that people don't, that's not going to be in the traffic study, and unless you live there, people don't consider, is Jennings,
Right.
Shaw,
Yep.
Old Nashville Dirt Road, and Peacock. Anybody, and even Google Maps will take you there. If you go to that side of town and you're coming from Murfreesboro, you don't drive through town and come
No.
down Main Street. You
That's
come down those back roads.
that's the bypass by default.
That's how you get in and out. And if you live there, that's how you leave. When I leave early in the morning, going to a breakfast, all those roads, oncoming traffic is heavy construction
Right.
equipment coming back to do construction at Union Station, at Wheatfield, and
Yeah.
all those belts. And we're about to quadruple that by adding in this new Jennings Lane development, and we're about to add in this Remington Farms. You're going to have 4 different developments bringing in construction trucks and construction workers from the north side of town. And I mean, I hate to say it, but it's going to take a serious and, possibly a fatal wreck in
That's
that
bad.
section before somebody says, hey, what are we going to do about this?
Right.
Because
You got roads this wide.
yeah, they have no shoulders. A couple
No.
of those roads don't even have a shoulder. You've got a blind turn making that turn from Shaw
Yeah.
onto Old Nashville
Yes.
Dirt Road.
And
So-
there's a pond right there, right next to the road, and it just drops right off.
Drops right
next
off
to-
into the
I'm
pond,
like,
so-
okay, this could be a problem.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
driven by that many times, but
Yeah.
that is the bypass by default.
that is
If you're
how-
on that side of town and you want to
Right.
hit 231, you come out over by the Ag Center
Yeah.
and at the new raceway, I guess it's called.
Yeah, you
the
come out
market there.
at the gas station.
Catch that
there.
traffic light. But
So-
it does save time going that way, and a lot of people choose to take that route because of the congestion in town. So
Right. And you don't even have to be from here. If you put it in Google Maps, an address on that side of
It's
town,
coming
that's how it takes you.
Yeah.
It does not run you through town.
all right, it's going to be interesting to watch this, Josh. I know
Yeah.
you're on top of it, and we look forward to hearing how things play out on all 3 of these topics. But I want to change gears and end the show
Yeah.
on this. The young man that disappeared earlier in the week, where there were some concerns.
Yeah.
The young man was found. He was taken into custody by Shelbyville Police Department. Hope everything gets worked out there with that family, and hope things smooth out for them. Glad to hear that he's safe,
Yes,
mainly,
absolutely.
and that there's no fears that are lingering around. So it's
Right.
good to have that report. Also, last week, Josh, we had a lady that was attacked. She was sprayed with some sort of repellent spray, bear spray,
Possibly bear spray.
and then got whacked in the head with a hammer.
with a hammer.
She
Yeah.
she is okay from what I understand. That's a good report.
Yeah, she
Lots
got
of,
released from the hospital the
yeah.
same day and seems to be recovering. Hopefully, I don't know the follow up to the guy that got arrested. Hopefully, he's still locked up, because if you're willing to do that to anybody, you should.
Yes,
Yeah,
for sure. But just want to plug now that we do have that live scanner going on, and you can go to our website and check that out. And we've got Josh on top of everything. Thank you for all your hard work. Yeah.
And plug for Monday night. You'll be live.
Yeah, we'll be live here on Bedford County
show.
Live.
Yeah.
So tune in for that. I'm sure some of these topics will come up, but we're going to post what we're going to talk about. Hopefully we'll have that up Monday morning so that you guys will know what we're going to be talking about. We encourage you to join in and give us your opinions. And thanks for those opinions that have been expressed here on this show. And Josh, what else we got coming up this week? And any meetings, anything important going on that you know of?
Yeah, I've always got meetings. I think Bedford County Republican Party has their meeting Monday night at 6:30 at, I should know the address because I'm on the party and I don't know the address, but it's the white building on Main Street.
Right.
So you can look us up on Facebook. County Commission meets 7 o'clock Tuesday night. Oh, and actually Tuesday night, an important meeting, 5:15 Tuesday evening. Second floor of the courthouse is the homeless task force.
Right.
There's been a lot of talk in the newspapers here on Shelbyville Now about the homeless issue down by the river. And they meet once a month, the task force does. And I'm expecting a good turnout Tuesday night for that, because that's really become a hot button topic in the last week.
When we put that drone footage out and showed the impact it was having on our riverbank, I think it woke a lot of people up.
Yeah. And then Councilmember Turnbow has been real active in there since then. He took the newspaper down. He took you guys down and actually walked through some of those camps so you could see up close. It's
a human tragedy taking place
it's
there.
Really
and
sad,
also very soon we will have the anti-drug coalition.
Yes, they're meeting.
I believe very first meeting.
Yeah, first meeting February 29th. And one more important meeting in as far as the development discussion at noon this Thursday at the rec center. The city council, the planning commission, and the Shelbyville Power and Water are all getting together and putting their heads together and trying to discuss the explosive growth that's going on in the city, and just making sure that they're ahead of it, what they can do to improve, planning and whatnot. So that'll be an interesting one. I'll definitely be at that one, and we'll be talking about what happens. But if there's anybody from the community that has something they want to say about development or growth, all these city meetings now, they have to give a public comment period at the beginning, so you could actually speak. Your mayor, your city council, your planning, you could reach them all at once at that meeting. So that's at noon at the rec center where they used to have the city council meetings. One
other thing that I do know, I saw this morning that the city of town of Wartrace put out a statement that there's a main water break, which this is just another issue that we have with our water problems in that area. And there's a main break, which I'm sure pressure's down everywhere in Wartrace. So I'm sure if you stay abreast of that on their Facebook page, they'll keep you up to date on that. I have no updates on it. I just saw it posted. But
and if that's happening in Wartrace, that affects Bell Buckle because they're downstream from them on the water.
So that's just keep sticking its ugly head up. I'm sure we'll have some more to talk about on that later. But guys, thanks for watching us this morning. We'll be back again real soon with some updates on the Ahead of the Curve. Hope that this has helped you, and please like and share our show, and we'll be back again real soon. Thanks, Josh.